All right. Welcome to the ladies' room. How is everybody out there tonight? As you can see, the panel looks a little bit different tonight. My girl Ashley Michelle, our usual host, is not here today. Because it's her birthday today. Yay,
Happy
Ashley's
birthday,
birthday.
Ashley.
Yay. And Miss Jovo had something else, so she isn't going to be with us tonight either. But we still have some of our regular panel with Misunderstanding here and Darwin Hill, of course, our resident male. And I have two special guests, Alicia and my friend Josh. Both are my friends, and they've decided to come on to have some of these candid conversations about relationships and gender roles, and just some of all of the things that we like to talk about so often. Um, so we have a very fun show scheduled for tonight. And to get started, we are going to kick it off by talking about those gender roles. We love talking about gender roles. So before we get into it, I'm going to play a little video, and then when I'm done talking, when I'm done playing the video, we're going to discuss what you guys think here when you see it. So give me 1 second. Let's see. Mute.
Hey, Raven.
Shalom, brother.
I'm glad to see you still with us.
Always, always.
Yeah, they go get you.
Huh?
You know they go get you.
They always say that and then they give here bumbling and fumbling. I don't want to hear it.
If the image of a woman during World War II was Rosie the Riveter, the 1950s female ideal became Susie Homemaker. The same women who were often encouraged to work in the factory to support the war effort were now urged to demonstrate their patriotism by staying home.
If you look at the difference between the way the magazines portrayed women in the 40s and magazines portrayed women in the 50s, you can see a huge propaganda effort took place to convince women that their place was in the home, that they didn't want to wear overalls, that really you were much more fulfilled if you could cook a good dinner than if you could make a wing on an airplane.
You've no idea how much I've got to do. Remember, I haven't got your dream kitchen to make things easier.
This whole kitchen was designed for efficiency and convenience.
Experts like noted pediatrician and author Dr. Benjamin Spock and popular advice columnist Ann Landers encouraged this homemaker image, advising women to put their children and husbands first, even at the expense of their own needs. Yet, even as many mothers prided themselves in their families, the number of women working outside the home rose steadily as they took jobs to help maintain their family's standard of living. Soon, both married and unmarried women were a significant part of the labor pool.
In the 1950s, 33% of the workforce is female.
Women who did not work outside the home often volunteered in their places of worship and in their charitable organizations. There, they learned the political and organizational skills that would become critical as they joined with working women to mastermind the women's movements of the 60s and 70s.
So that was a little interesting. Oops, hold on.
Today in the press and on the radio, the American career girl married on.
Okay. So that took us back. That took us back a little bit. I wanted to throw a little history in there about how we can get socialized in different ways. And sometimes we still have these ideas about a woman's places in the home, and she should prioritize that husband and those kids above her own needs. That was one of the things that they said in the video, above her own needs. So to get started, thinking about gender roles in that way, how rigid do you think they need to be along those lines? Who wants to start?
I'll go first.
I knew. I saw your face. I saw your face.
I can't help it.
Okay.
I wouldn't say they need to be extremely rigid. So, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like I said earlier, maybe about a 4.6 ish. Because some things, men are just, they're genetically bigger. They got bigger bone density, things like that. Their lung capacity is going to be a little bit larger. So, I think some things are just going to kind of be male dominated fields, not purposefully or like any social engineering or anything like that, but just biology. So
But
maybe
how
like a
about
4.6.
in the home though?
Oh, well, see, ooh, that depends upon the family because everybody's different.
Don't cop out. Don't cop out, Raven. Don't.
I'm gonna
How
go with
much
the same
garbage you
level.
taking out,
Same
Raven?
level. No, same level. 4.6 because little boys play with dolls. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. Good Lord, nobody's gonna die. Sometimes they're just mimicking their dad. It's not that deep. But I don't know. I mean, if you want your son to wear heels, who am I to stop you? I don't know. 4.6. That's the number I'm giving. On the scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving like a little less than 5 because gender roles are important, like I said, for society and whatnot. But in the home, it's really just depending upon how you want to raise your child.
But think
Some
about
little
it
boys do
specifically.
makeup.
But think about it specifically in terms of what we watched in the video. When I say gender roles, I'm talking about the ones between like a husband and a wife as a sign in the household.
Okay, I thought you meant like how we raise the kids, because
No, I mean,
gender roles gets deep. I work with kids.
No,
the parents
do. They do.
But husband and wife, we're in 2022. Everybody works. If you want your wife to have a bank account, you're a feminist. So accept it. I mean, come on now. You can't want her to have a job and not be a feminist. Like what?
That bar is very low.
The bar is low. Okay, Josh. So what are your thoughts on that? Like in a relationship, in a marriage, whatever, how rigid do you think these gender roles need to be?
It's all made up. It's all been propaganda. So there's no real gender roles. It's really what's going to fit best for you. I mean, it's every situation you could think of. Does it matter what the gender is? Like, yeah, sometimes I make the bed. Half the time we don't. 99% of the time we don't. Like it doesn't. You don't need anyone to make a decision for you, for whether that's a male thing or a female thing. It doesn't have any bearing on it. So like I mean, and it's funny because we talk about perspectives and backgrounds. In my being Jewish, like always coming from a Jewish household, and then like going to Jewish summer camp, and then like spending all that time around other families. Mm-hmm. The woman has full control. Like there's no such thing. There's like, so when you think about like when people think about like whether or not like the male or the female has control in the relationship and the gender role, there's no such thing. Like it's whatever the woman wants. Like it's like she's the mother, she's the most important person. You do for her. Like you don't go to work. Like when I go to like one day when I have a family, it's like I'm gonna go to work so I can support her, even though she's gonna be able to support herself. Mm-hmm. It's meant to be a group effort, and each contribution is important, but it's also how it works. Like I have a friend who is literally a trained chef. He's gonna cook. Like it's not gonna be his wife. Let's just call it what it is. Right. Like that's it's I think we're too far past that. And I think if people hold on to those ideals, they create tension for no reason.
Tension for no reason. Okay, thank you, Josh. Alicia, what are you gonna add, lady? What you got to say? Go ahead and bring it.
Well, first of all, I think Josh is looking at my note cards over here because you watch that video and you go to home economics when you're in high school, junior high school, and they show you these old school videos, and you're like, oh my God, I want my life to be like I'm a princess and I'm staying at home and I'm taking care of this man. And hell's no, because when you become an adult and you become a woman, you're like, I make my own money, I can do my own shit. Am I allowed to cuss? I can do my own stuff. And so it is propaganda. So a lot of people are fed into what the news and the media magazines are telling us that we have to be, we want to do. But reality is, just like Josh said, is you have to set your own rules, boundaries, and responsibilities in your own relationship. You know, Cannon, I had a horrible marriage. It was trash on a stick, you know, whatever. And so when I went into my new relationship with my partner that I've been with for 5 years now, it's like, I'm going to spend my money how I want. I'm going to do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. And he's like, oh, those are the boundaries? Great. I can work with that. And so just like you're sharing is, I'm going to do what I want. I don't really think there needs to be a rigidness. We set rules inside the relationship. The only problem I see is when you get into a relationship and you're learning about somebody, it's like, oh, this is how this person is. And the deeper I get into this relationship, let me see how I can bend it to where they're more what I want them to do versus who they are. And when that starts to happen, bye, bro. See you on the flip side. Never, because I want to do what I want, be who I want, make money how I want, spend it how I want. You know, and there doesn't need to be really rigidness. It just set some rules and boundaries within your relationship. If they work, awesome. If they don't, goodbye. There's like plenty of fish in the sea, bro.
Okay, thank you. And shout out to our viewers. Hey, Janae Nicole for joining in with us. eBlack TV. Oh, our friend Daryl. Hey, how you doing? I see you down there in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And so, Darwin, what were you going to add?
Well, y'all pretty much know my take on this. I don't believe in gender roles. I do believe I sometimes fall into gender roles just because I take pride in most of the things that men do, as far as, you know, being a protector of the house, sports, and teaching young men how to fight. You know, just being tough. You know, and get my nephews, my little cousins, I rough them up, and I do all those things to make men out of them. So they say, but that's just because that's the way I was raised. But generally, I do not believe in gender roles. I like to cook. I like to clean. I was doing that before I got married. Everything that people say a man should do because of his gender, I think he should do it because he's just a human being, you know, cleaning and cooking. I never ever wanted to be able to depend on a woman to have to cook and clean for me. I've seen what that looks like. I've seen men that doesn't even know how to boil a hot dog. It's just a bad look for men, for me personally, to have to put all of that weight on a woman to get things taken care of. And as a leader of my family, I would never put those gender roles on my wife, because I know that's the roles that they say a woman has outweighs the roles of a man all day long, you know. So if we went on those gender roles, my wife would be wore out at the end of the day. And I just wouldn't be able to live with myself if I just went by those roles. So no, I do not believe in those. But I will admit, if I was in another tax bracket, I probably would, because that would allow another type of balance. But the tax bracket that we're in now, I think the balance that we need, we don't need gender roles. And I think that's for more majority of the households. If I had $30 million, of course, I would like to just work and let my wife stay at home and do the cooking and cleaning, and vice versa. If she was making $30 million, I would stay at home and do the cooking and cleaning and take the kids to school and doctor visits and stuff like that. So I don't think it's a gender thing, you know. It's just a balance of the household and how that, however that train operates the best. I think the two people should just let it happen.
Okay, thank you.
And if you think about that, by the way, if you think about the reason why they pushed all the women back into the houses, is because they were working when all the men were at war, and then they were afraid that what the men would do when they came back from war. They were like scared shitless, basically. Like, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to react to women taking their jobs, doing all of this? So they're like, oh, let's put them all back into the homes. Let's put them all back into the kitchen, and let's try to advertise specifically to them so we can make them and their husbands spend all the money.
Yep. That is true.
That is what I want to pick up on, because I think the whole Susie Homemaker just really kicks up the consumerism in us, you know, because you always have to have the best dishwasher. What do they call it? Keeping up with the Joneses, you know. It puts you right back in the rat race. Dick and Jane, Dick's got to keep going out there and working because Jane is going to keep, you know, trying to stay up.
She
I
needs
think
things.
it's exploring.
Yeah, I think, just follow the capitalism, right? With most of the stuff. That's a pretty strong example. I think that's absolutely correct, Josh.
Me personally, I've never seen a house based on gender roles. Like personally, I've seen it on TV, but all the married people I know, all the people in long relationships, I don't see this dynamics happening. So I don't, it's very much just made up, and I'm talking about marriage that I see that looks successful. I don't, of course, I'll never know what's going on inside of a person's household or whatever. But from looking out, both couples work. They both take care of the kids. They do these things. I don't see the woman just slaving over stoves and laying on the back. I see strong women doing all working, taking care of the kids. I see men stepping up, taking care of the kids. But I do see more men preaching this gender role thing as if it's really happening, and I don't know why that is. I think it's just because they want control or something like that. Now I think that's the only reason this little gender role conversation keeps coming about when it's not even happening, and on an everyday basis with these couples and these marriages and stuff like that.
Oh, it's happening too. It's happening too. If you the average BYU graduate that's a woman, Brigham Young University, she makes $8,000 a year. Is because most of them are women that are in the homes that are having multiple children and they do not work. So that's they literally are going to BYU
to get
their MRS degree, and that's what they're doing. They're getting their master's degree and they're having families, and that's the role that the Mormon churches seem to kind of foster, and they still have those gender roles, and that's a very specific thing. So it's crazy to see the different communities. It's similar in the Hasidic Jewish community. Like a lot of it's tied back to the religion based on how their faith is, and they've created these roles, and now we've like stuck with them for some reason, and it's very odd. But yeah, we don't see that in Atlanta at all.
I like that you brought up religion. Josh. Josh ready to get into the thick of it. He like, let's go ahead and bring up religion. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of the conversation, especially in these YouTube streets, goes about these relationship hierarchies, right? And it's a hierarchy where the man is the leader and he is the head of the household and he gets the final say about everything, and the woman must submit to him. And one of the reasons why they say this is true, and I'll let Raven address this specifically, because Raven has the best point on this. But one of the reasons why they say men have to be respected as the leaders in their homes is because if an intruder breaks into the house at some ungodly hour, who is going to be expected to go and risk their life to save the family? And they say that is the reason that the man is the leader of the house, because he is risking his life for his family. So that's why. Now, so my question is, should there be relationship hierarchies? Do women need to submit? And Raven, I'll let you start. Do men get to be the leaders because they risk their lives in relationships?
When you brought it up, I did not know where you were going with this. So it's hilarious because I posted about it, and so many men were acting like having children wasn't a risk. Like, well, you just give birth to a child. What are you talking about? But if your wife has children, she risks her life, sometimes 9 whole months, because they call them high risk pregnancies. Sometimes the whole pregnancy. So she's risking her life. So for every child she has can risk her life. You need to be facing an intruder for like 5 or 6 months after, and even then she can go home and have a brain aneurysm. So you would still have to be fighting an intruder. It's unrealistic. It's unreasonable. It's less likely that someone's going to break in your house or be a physical threat to you. It's more likely that you're going to use the weapon. But that's not the topic of the episode today, so I won't go there. But yeah, no, if the basis of leadership is who's risking their life, then the mother's going to be the leader every single time.
Okay, I like that. Who wants to go next?
I don't mind going. I say, we risk because the stretch marks and the cellulite. I mean, that's a risk in itself. You destroy your whole body to give life. So I'm just saying, to that point, to Raven's point, absolutely. I mean, hierarchy. I'm destroying myself for your life. No, that's hilarious. I think, and it goes back to the points that you all shared. Josh's point in regards to these women going off to this college to get these men and be children bearers their whole life and stay at home. And then Darwin's talking about how, I was raised to be strong and have strength and protect and defend and things like that. So when you think about hierarchy, I think it depends on the relationship itself and who is striving for that. I'm the leader of this family. For my partner and myself, it's pretty much equal. And we were talking about how we're going to the mountains at the end of the month, end of July month for vacation. And we have like the stick. And he's like, yeah, if a bear comes, I'm going to fend off the bear. You guys all run. I was like, you think I'm going to stand there and let a bear destroy you, bro? I'm going to hold my whipping stick and I'm going to just like start mauling the bear.
I'm going to be beating the bear up.
Yeah. And he's like, no, man, I'm going to die for my family. I was like, I can't do it. I would never live with myself. So I think when we talk about hierarchy, it's just men have this sense of taking care of their family. And as a woman, bro, keep me safe. I want that, I want that safety. But in regards to the second part of that question, being, submissive or submit to my partner, that's not me. Because again, like I said, I want to be who I am and live my life. And I also want to have a say in this relationship, in this conversation, in this family. But if my partner, my husband, whomever wants to protect me with strength, 100%, like protect the family, I'm not gonna let you die by the bear. I'm gonna, jump in a little bit. But I think that each partner submits during certain moments of the relationship. If it's more important for you to win this, I'm gonna let you win. But if it's more important for me to win in this argument, this conversation, this family dynamic portion or debate we're having, then let me win. But then you build those dynamics in the relationship in that. So it really just depends. But if there's like, I'm the all-knowing, all-being top of this family, what I say goes. Plenty of Fish always has fish on that website for you. So it just really depends on what's important. But again, going back to what Darwin was saying is, there has to be equilibrium in the relationship. And you can't have everybody weighing everything on themselves. I'm sure a man, he's like, I want to be the leader and I want to be the hierarchy, but I cry sometimes too. I have emotional things going on too. Sometimes I need you to make a decision and be strong in this. So, it's just an equal part of the relationship. So I want you to be the strength in the relationship. Yes, please. If somebody's attacking the home, save our lives. I'm going to destroy my body, having children. You destroy your body, saving the lives. It's an equilibrium. That's my take on it.
I like it. No, I like it. Shout out to Mr. Rucker in the comments. You always come through and support. And hey, Nika, thank you for coming through and supporting. Okay, Josh, what do you think about that?
So, like, relationships as a hierarchy, I mean, I didn't choose someone. I chose someone to be a partner. I chose someone to be like an equal. I didn't choose someone to submit to me. I didn't choose someone that I need to not protect. I mean, there's different aspects of protection. If protection is, in this case, it's like, hey, I need to protect something. My dog is going crazy. But if it's, do I need to protect the house? Like, yeah, of course, I'll get up. I'm not worried about that. Like, if something happens, it happens, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I need to be there to be the one that's protecting the family. Mm-hmm. If something happens, but like the chances of that happening is low. Like, the chances of that happening is not something that's going to happen. I hope nobody is facing intruders every day. Because if you're facing intruders every day, then I get it. Like, 100% get it. Then yes, you need you need to have a whole different set of dynamics. Because if someone's coming after you, you need to figure that out. But if this is like 2022, you're living in America, and you're in a good area, I mean, you're basically looking at it as like, hey, I want someone that's going to be an equal partner. Like, life is hard enough as it is. Inflation keeps rising. My paychecks aren't. So, like, I look at that and I say, like, I need a partner that's going to be financially stable with me. I need someone that's going to want to be there to pull me into the right direction, and I can pull them in the right direction. Because the goal is to continuously go up. The goal is to never go sideways or down. So it's like, I'm not going to put somebody down because, she lost a client at work, or I had a bad day and I didn't have a good month, and you know, I didn't hit my numbers the way I wanted to. That's you don't need to have those kind of dynamics. You need to have the dynamic of like, are you there together? And if you are, there's no submitting to somebody else. And there's no reason a woman should ever have to submit. I mean, there's different things when it comes to relationships and sexual. All of that is different. And then those are personal. Those are like specific things. But as a hierarchy, no, there's no reason for them to submit.
Okay, Darwin.
A lot of people get mad at me or look at me funny when I say we're double breasted, right? We both leaders in this relationship. We're a double headed household. I'm not the head of the household. She's not the head of the household. We both lead this house at different times. Like I'm sorry. Hello.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Josh.
No, not Josh.
Alicia.
Like Alicia said, we at different times we submit. At different times we lead. Whatever our strong suit is at. We know each other. So I know what she's strong at. She knows what I'm strong at, and I think at times she submits, and I submit. I kind of adopt the leadership role because I played sports all through high school. I played football, basketball, and volleyball. I was the captain of each team, so I pretty much adopted those behaviors. Leaders, they don't blame anybody. You know, they take it all. You know, they if something happens, they don't finger point. They just figure out ways to make it better. I never seen like LeBron James go and tell his team on national TV say, well, since he missed his shot, that's the reason we lost. You know, that's not a good leader. A good leader is going to take it, eat it, and go in private and figure out a way to make things better. Even if that's just delegating things to do. You know, I just sit back, let my wife do what she's best at, and she sit back and let me do what I'm best at, and it works for us. And I think it works for us because we communicate so well together, and we're transparent, and we know we're not trying to be heroes.
It's not a power struggle.
It's not a power struggle. We push our egos to the side. We have kids, so we're not tallying up who did this and who did that. We just want everything to run smooth. And I think when you have two people that's on the same page with looking out for the family and not just themselves and how they look to the outside world, I think they get things done. No matter how it looks to other people, you need to do what you have to do to keep your family, your household together. And I just think that works for us. You know, I'm a leader, but I'm not taking that away from my wife as not being a leader, you know, and vice versa, you know. And I think a lot of people get that confused when I say my wife is a leader too. They feel like, oh, you let your wife lead because like this patriarchal society says the man is supposed to be the leader. He has the last say so and this and that. But I just think that's a very ignorant way to look at things, especially if I know my wife is more knowledgeable than me in certain areas. And I'm just going to, just because I have a penis, hey, we're going to do this. You know, that would be very ignorant of me to put my family in that type of jeopardy just because I want to say I'm the man. You know, I don't have to prove I'm the man. I just do things to prove that I'm the man. And sometimes sitting back, letting your wife take control of it is the manly thing to do.
I like that. So one of the other things along that line that came up on the show was the last show. And what the person said was that if something financial happens, right? Like if you lose your house or something like that, everyone is going to blame the man. If the kids grow up screwed up and jacked up, then everybody is going to blame the woman. Now, while I do agree to a certain extent that that's how the outside world will view or makes judgments, how do you guys think that squares like with reality? Do you think that it makes sense that, you should, if you're in a household, you have to blame all the financial failures on the man and all of the child rearing failures on the woman? How do you guys feel about that?
Again, it's all about being a leader. We're not blaming anybody. If the kids turned out jacked up, that's on the kids. They did that.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
He went straight to victim blaming.
They got their own minds. They got their own life to live. Hey, they scream out YOLO all the time. Hey, so YOLO, shoot.
Free range parenting.
Can I want to add to what Darwin said. He said something like, if the kids come messed up, that's their own fault. So I had a conversation with my oldest a couple of years ago. I'm really very authoritative when it comes to my kids' grade. I just announced how proud I was of some educational things that happened with my oldest son. But a couple of years ago, he was like, you're so in my face. And you know what? I'm not going to try anymore. I'm not going to get good grades. And I sat back and I said to this boy, I said, I got my career. I got my money, my car, my education. My life is set. You not trying to get good grades. That's your life that you're jacking up. That has nothing to do with me. And he had to step back and a step back. He wasn't expecting me to say that. And he's in scholar programs and college courses in high school. So he realized, you know what, you're messing up your own life. You're messing up my life. You know, we have a hand in everything we do. I come from a family of poverty, a mother taking care of 4 children, you know, and when I became an adult and I went to college myself and I didn't want to have that life. I don't blame my mom for the life I have. If anything, it made me stronger to be the person I am today. So going back to what Darwin says, you know, who you are as an adult and the things that you do. If you're blaming other people, that's just your weak mind. At some point, you have to say, I need to make decisions for myself. I need to be accountable for myself. So, yeah, you know, I came from a family that was super impoverished and didn't live in the greatest neighborhoods. And I live in a nice home and I make, you know, educated decisions and I save my money, and it's just all what you decide to do. So you can blame whoever you want in life, but at the end of the day, when you become an adult from childhood, your decisions are your own and you only have yourself to blame.
Yeah.
So,
I don't believe a lot of the stuff that people say. You know, I'm always saying I don't go off what people say, just go off what people do, and I stick to that, because what person in their right mind would just watch their kids grow up and make these bad decisions and then the man just blame the wife? Like who would do that? I would think the husband will feel just as equally responsible for those kids too, and vice versa. If we lost the house, of course I'm going to feel like I'm responsible as being the man, but I'm pretty sure my wife's going to be sitting over there like, dang, what could I have done? I should have done this. I should have done that. She's going to be just as guilty and feeling just as guilty, and we're both going to be out in the streets. So when people say those things, it's really not true. It's really not a true statement. They just, like you said, they just saying what society would want them to say, but people don't live by those rules. I don't think they have for a long time.
Well, I think 2 points on that. If they are, it's because you have an unhealthy relationship. So if the man or the woman are saying that, you're already in an unhealthy relationship anyways. If your spouse is blaming the other, you know, partner, hey, this is your fault, then you've been probably in an unhealthy relationship for a very long time. And if your children are coming back and saying this is mom's fault, this is dad's fault, then you're probably quarreling and arguing in front of them and putting your personal relationship issues where they can see it. They're hearing you fighting, talking about money and things like that. And so they're going to, based on the relationships they form with their parents, make decisions on whose fault it is. So keep your conversations private, keep your finances private, and always come up front, whether you have a good or bad relationship, as a partnership, so that your children look back and they can't make that the definitive, you know, who was in the wrong type of decision. But that's a difficult thing to do, because as adults, we're still children with money, making childish decisions and having childish conversations in front of children, and we're just disabling them to be more productive as they get older, or even prolonging that process. So I agree with that.
Yep. No, I think that's so true. Josh, did you have anything to add?
I just think it's so amazing when you think about like how old your parents were when they had you, and like when you think about how old you are at the moment, you're like, yeah, there's no way I could, like, there's no way. Like my mother was, I'm 30. My mother, I think, was 27 when she had me. And I'm like, yeah, I wasn't mature enough at that age. So the fact that she was mature enough, and like, you know, that's, you know, they're not even mistakes. I think it's just like you live and you learn, and you kind of have to roll with the punches. And like, you know, our lives change so heavily. I mean, look at us right now. You're doing a podcast on video on a computer. Like there's no parent that's possibly capable of like trying to manage that right now. That's too fast. That's ridiculous. Like this wasn't even a thing 10 years ago. And all of a sudden, you know, half the people you know are working from home, and now all of a sudden their lives have changed irreparably because now they went from having, going away 10 hours a day, an hour on each end of a commute, and then 8 hours of work, and now they're coming home. Now they're already home. Mm-hmm. So now we just live in a whole different society that, like, we have to kind of adjust our, what's normal and what's not, because we don't know what's normal anymore. Everyone has their own version of normal. So like, I see that, I'm like, wow, it's just so crazy. Like, you're talking about your kids and you talk about how old, like, yeah, I'm 30. Like, I was already like 3 years old when my mom had me. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, I would not. What am I doing with I couldn't even imagine doing with a 3-year-old. Like, and I've seen your daughter. I've seen Day like 1,000 times, and like, she's literally just a mini me of you. I don't think you were involved at all, Darwin. I don't think you were involved at all. I apologize, but I've seen them both. They have the same mannerisms. They walk the same. They talk the same. It's actually incredible. He has created the Austin Powers mini me. But it's when you get to that scenario, it's like, wow, it's like you really have an opportunity to change someone's life on how you parent, and it's how you see your parents act. And one of the things that I always saw with my parents was they stopped, when I was younger, they weren't as honest with, things that were happening. If somebody lost their job, or, if something was, 2008 happened and a lot of money was lost, like, and those lessons, because they were so self-guarded about, like, they were always taught, you never talk about money, you don't talk about a lot of things, even with your kids. And that's a disservice, because your kids have to see it. Like, your kids have to see not you failing, but like the missteps and how you're going to overcome that. Because they can't just assume that everything is going to be, so perfect. And, there's always that, stocks just go up. That's not how that works. Like, there's ups and downs. And, like, when you have a downturn, like, how do you react to that? Because that's how relationships are healthy and not healthy. It's because, you don't, when your kids see that, your kids see your father goes to the bar, when he's upset, what are they going to do when they get older? They're going to, they might make that assumption unless that's talked about, unless that's, that conversation's there. That's actually why I think that sometimes it depends on the family, obviously. But I think that fighting in front of your kids, if you do it right, if you have those conversations in front of them, I think it sometimes helps to kind of understand what they're looking at, because the kids pick up on everything. Mm-hmm. I know it's way.
Yeah, that was actually so true, because I think people do have this idea right now that they're searching for perfection or something. It's like, that's what the conversation sounds like. It's like, even when people are like, oh, and the good guy, and oh, you get the good girl, and it's like, everybody is horrible. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're all a good combination of things, right? Nobody is like this perfect good, like, person and bad person. Like, we all have capabilities of being good and bad, and we all, like, all of us, like, somebody hates every single one of us, and other people love us. You know what I mean? It's like, what is really, you're really saying good guy. I mean, that's subjective. You know what I mean? So it's like, we have this, like, kind of idealized idea of what people are supposed to be and what relationships are supposed to be. And to your point, I think that the older generation did guard a lot of things from us. And I think therein lies a lot of the problem. And we do tend to look at history through rose-colored glasses. So it actually says that the human brain will, over time, we will forget more of the negative experiences, and over time just slowly remember the better experiences. So when we think back to stuff, we're like, oh, because back in the day it was all this great stuff, but we forgot, like, all of the other parts of it. And so now in the moment, what we're looking at, we're trying to compare it to this idealized idea of a past that never existed. And I think that is what's happening a lot.
Yeah, that'd be crazy when I hear some people say back in the day was better. I always asked them, like, what year? Like in the 60s and the 70s. I was like, oh, you want to halfway be a slave again, huh? like you don't even, like, you want to go back to those days when things was like that, like, really, like so people romanticize things a lot, and they don't even be realizing that. Like, I just look at people like, things are a lot better right now for everybody, if you ask me, and I just think right now we had like a changing of the guard, like a big transition in life, like where things is changing over for everybody. I kind of relate this to like that movie Divergent, when everybody was like in boxes and they had like different things that they had to do. Like they had to work here, they had this job, that job, and you like categorize in that way. And I think everybody with the access to the internet, and they're more knowledgeable and they get more information, they're discovering things about themselves, and they're realizing that they don't have to be in this box that society puts them in. They're thinking that everybody's like a free thinker now. They're doing what they want to do with their life instead of just living by these labels that society has put on them. And I think a lot of people that wants things to stay the same, I think they're having a hard time with this. You know, they want things to stay the same because those are the people that was profiting the most from that. And I think everybody now knows, like, hey, I don't have to be labeled. I don't have to stay in this box. I can live my life. I don't have to make this certain amount of money to be happy. I don't have to be married to be happy. I don't have to be religious to be happy. I don't have to do X, Y, Z to be happy. I can just do what I want to do to be happy. And that's not going to align with the powers that be, right? So, and I think, maybe the next 30 years, I don't know, I might not even be alive to see this, you know. I think it's going to be women presidents, all types of good things going to be happening. Just going to be a little happy world, or we might go to those days where, you know, the government might put chips in us and have us acting the way. I don't know how it might go, but right now I just think
we can't go to the Handmaid's Tale now. We can't. We can't do that.
You're doing some stuff now.
But Raven, did you have anything to add to this before we move on to the next one?
I do. Oh wait, what's the next topic?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
I want to get to the good stuff.
No.
What's the next one?
I don't know what the next topic is. I know we mentioned religion earlier, and it made me think about it when Darwin was saying we're at a transition, which is why I put out my notes. I didn't want to let it go. Are we being a little overzealous in expecting people to transition? Because a lot of churches depend on gender roles. You know, it's the mothers down there cooking and fanning the people, and you know, doing the emotional and unpaid labor. I don't know if you guys have been to a Black Baptist church, but afterwards it's typically old ladies in there cooking and passing out plates. And I think it would be, I don't know if we would be asking for a lot, expecting people to like abandon their whole like religious ideals and whatnot, because a lot of people are preaching gender roles in the name of religion. Like, we got to get back to God. Women get back in the kitchen. Men get back out to work or war or wherever, you know, wherever they're supposed to be, I guess.
You know, I don't think well, that's me.
Right. What was that?
No, it's an open question. I don't know, because I think if we weren't religious, yes, but a lot of people are religious.
You know, I think a lot of people like me. I was raised in a church. I was going to church every Sunday with my family. And when I got a little bit older, started making my own decisions, I got to a point where I was like, you know, why am I here? You know, and I think a lot of people was forced into that, you know, and they just stayed into the church. But now I see a lot of people, not say turning away from church, but finding that there's other ways to live life, you know. And it's just like with anything, we've been living a way so long that it's expected of us, right? It was expected of us to get up and go to church on Sundays. It was expected us to go to Sunday school, Bible study, get in the quiet, do all that. That's just how it was. Whether we decided that for us or not, you know, I didn't decide that I wanted to go to church every Sunday. I was forced and made to. Then I got to a point where, okay, it's just habit now. I'm just going to go. Then it got to a point where, you know what, it's not doing nothing for me. You know, I don't even want to live that way. Like, I wanted to have sex. I wanted to do these things. I just wanted to live a certain way. I'm just being honest, you know. I wanted to live a certain way, and I knew it wasn't going to align with what I was taught or what I was supposed to be. So I just stopped going there because I didn't want to be like one of those people who said, you know, God is still working on me. You know, I'm going to do this. And, you know, I just never felt like if I don't do what's qualified for me to be a Christian, I'm not a Christian. You know, I know a lot of people think differently and they just say, you know, I'm still a work in progress, but I know I didn't have no intentions on that doing some of the things I wanted to do. So, you know, I kind of found another path to go to be happy. And I think a lot of people is doing that, you know, not to say that we're good or bad. It's just that, you know, everybody can't do the same thing. It's just life.
Darwin doesn't want to be a hypocrite. He don't want to go to church on Sunday and sin on Monday.
I definitely, I was just like, man, what am I doing? Like, I'm in church thinking about doing like.
See, that's the heathen.
You want to know? You want to
sin on
know what
Sunday.
churchgoers are like on Sunday? Work retail sales, because the people leave church on Sunday, come into a retail store and act sideways and treat people like complete scum. I'm like, didn't you just come from church?
Right after church.
Sins, and you're starting the week all over again by treating people like garbage. So
still got on their Sunday best, acting a fool.
Exactly. I'm like, I can't work on Sundays no more because I'm about to lose my job.
It's against my religion.
They be having on their Sunday hat and everything.
We've been getting into some good stuff, you know. So let's just keep it moving and get into the nitty-gritty. Now, another conversation that has been jumping off in these YouTube streets is about, you know, women being fit, feminine, and friendly, and that men do not care about a woman's education or what she earns in 2022. That is literally something that is being said, that a man does not care about what a woman makes and if she has any degrees or anything like that. What he cares about is that she is fit, feminine, and friendly. What say you? I'm gonna let Alicia go first because I see her face.
Well, I can tell you this. My partner certainly cares about my education and earnings. We're always competing on who's going to have this degree, that degree, whichever. He has his master's. I'm completing my master's degree. If it's free at T-Mobile, it's for me. But and I make more money than my partner. And I mean, he's not. He knew that going into this relationship, and he's striving to get close to me. And so. But when I look at social media, and I can agree, so in social media, you don't see, you know, oh, you're smart, you have an education, you're going out there and you're enhancing yourself, or, oh, wow, you're making all this money. And maybe they're looking at that because they're an influencer, so they're making money being an influencer. But all you see is booties and filtered faces and these tiny waists. And I'm like, you look great on this camera, but in this life, you need some work. But I think, yeah, so social media is really just destroying that. And I can agree that people aren't focused on education and earnings for women, you know, even though an educated man, somebody who values what a woman can contribute to a relationship, is like, yeah, you're earning money, you're making that, you're helping out the family, your education is only going to take our family and yourself even further, is fantastic. But social media and all of these magazines and all these videos and what, you know, I think somebody said propaganda is spreading out there is that, you know, the more you filter yourself, the more you thin yourself out, the bigger you make your booty. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want in life. And that is to an extreme. And, you know, I'm a 40-year-old woman. Hopefully I don't look like it on this camera, but I'm an old lady.
No, you don't.
And I've been through 17,432 diets. Not that I need to. And I've never felt comfortable in my own skin. And because I'm always chasing what the media and social media tells me I should look like and I should feel like. And I'm a strong person. I say my words of affirmation, try to convince myself that I have not, this ain't my real hair, it's curly. Try to convince myself that my face is great, my hair is great. And you know what? These kids gave me stretch marks. I'm gonna pretend like they don't exist. It's great, whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, I struggle with that because when you go out into the world, there's this perception that women need to look and be a certain way. And it's really a hard struggle to get away from that. I'm a mentally strong individual, but I still feel judged and looked at every time I walk out the doors or how I look in a picture. And it's just not something you can just turn off. If you can turn it off, that's fantastic. But that's just where we are. That stigma exists. And it's just hard to pull away from that. Those women who go out there, like, feeling their best and dressed with no clothes on. And I'm just like, my partner's like, are you looking at that girl? I was like, yes, because she's got pride in herself that I wish I had. Not because she's got flaws, but because I wish I could go out there with all of my flaws and be out there in that tiny bathing suit and be like, this is me. I was at the pool the other day and I had a towel around me.
Wow.
And that's just because there's that stigma that exists, because sometimes and it might even just be internally where we are subconsciously thinking that it's more important. And maybe education and earnings are like, oh, that guy's looking at me like I'm over here reading my textbook and getting all these good grades, and I'm like, you thinking I'm fat? Like I got some muffin top over now. So he might be thinking, oh, this girl is great, because she's reading and educating herself and she's got this high-end job. But I'm over here thinking, is he looking at me because I don't got no makeup on my? It's just that it exists. How do you get rid of it?
Yeah. Do you think that your partner is like super into that, where he's like, I don't care that you what you're doing for the family, just make sure you keep it tight?
So funny story is my partner, he used to be an employee of mine years ago. He always says I had a 10-year plan to get you and I got you in 8. Well, I had a divorce. And so there you go. I'm up for the grabbing, but I never used to wear makeup. I was the plainest Janus, wore my hair in a ponytail, never wore makeup. He already knew what he was getting. So, I'm actually 20 pounds lighter than when we first started dating. But he always tells me I look fantastic, and he would prefer me wearing less makeup on my face if that's even possible. So no, I found a partner that accepted me for who I am. If I had to go out there in those streets and look for somebody who saw a picture of me all dolled up and had that perception that I look like that all the time, I'd be like, this 4-day relationship is over. I can't keep up with it. I'm sorry. First of all, I'm super cheap and Sephora is super expensive. No, bye.
You know what? You do have to make life decisions when you go in Sephora. You buy like a freaking tube of lipstick and some lip liner. It's definitely $100. Easy. Thank you, Alicia. So
things women do.
Raven, what say you?
Well, I've spoken on the whole fit, feminine, friendly thing because I am definitely plush. We'll go with that. And I ain't never had a problem getting a man. So this has always been strange to me, this whole fit, feminine, and friendly thing. And I've always been opinionated and fairly educated. So I don't have a PhD or anything, guys. I don't know what I'm up against. You guys might be up there. But I'm fairly educated. So I think to Alicia's point, you got to get the man that's for you, because some of these guys are a bit intimidated, and they just do want to airhead, and I guess if you want to be a tyrant, go ahead. It's not my relationship. But it's got to be a balance. You have to be attracted to her, because don't put yourself through that hell. Please, God, don't do it. You have to be attracted to the person you're going to lay down with. You guys are going to sleep together every night. You got to love how your children are going to look eventually, So I think it's a balance. I think, of course, they OD, as always, just to prove a point. Just last week, they said Lori Harvey was of less value because she didn't have an education. So it just really depends on where the tides are in this conversation.
But she worth $43 million.
Exactly. They said she was.
Who cares?
They said she was an average-looking woman. This woman has a makeup brand deal. How average? I can't.
Girl, let's not even look. We can go on a whole tangent going down that road. Josh, what do you say? Do you think that it's more important for your wife? And Josh is married, guys. So don't be trying to hop in his DMs, all right? But do you think it's more important for your wife to be fit, feminine, and friendly, or do you give some thought to her education and what she earns?
I mean, the earning to me is more just like, do you have something that drives you that's a job? Like, are you waking up with something to do? Like, as opposed to the people, to like the Instagram models that are just there, that are just taking photos and are just making money off of, the OnlyFans, like whatever that is, like good for that. That's how they want to live their life. For me, I look at it as like, I chose her, like I wanted to be with her, like I said before. So like, do we all want to be fit? Yeah. Feminine? Yeah, I want her to be feminine. Do I want her to be friendly? It'd be nice if she was a little bit friendlier to me. I could take that. I could definitely take that. But you know what though? Like when I see that, I don't see that as like, I don't see that as why you have to choose one over the other, as opposed to, and I've talked about this a lot. Like we got to strive to be more fit together. Like we got to, like, I don't want to be more feminine, but But like feminine. That I don't even know what that's supposed to technically mean in that case.
Right.
But friendly. That's go ahead, be you. You know what? If you're a bitch, you're a bitch. Sometimes that's a personality trait. Some people love that. I mean, yeah, go ahead. I don't care. That works for a lot of people. That works for way too many people. And the education part, like to me, it's not just the education of what you have on paper, but it's it's what's around you. Like, are you in this world? Like, do you know what's going on, or are you just like kind of just an airhead in the sense of like you just float through life just to float through life? And that's the scary part for me. Like, I don't want someone that's just floating around, has no concept of what's in the reality of what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And the earnings aspect, you have to bring something to the table. Like, you have to bring something to the table. Like, I couldn't imagine if someone walked up to me and said, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to provide in any way. It's all on you 100%. I'd be like, that's not the Shark Tank deal where I'm sitting there and I'm going, yes, let me invest. No, it's not. I'm out. Like, I'm out. Like, that's not what I wanted. And that's for some people. Like, there's a lot of people out there that they take that as like, you know what, I want the fit, feminine, friendly girl that's gonna be my arm candy, and I'm gonna make all the money, and I'm gonna have them do what I want them to do. I see that less and less now from a reality standpoint, but I understand that from a male perspective of like, yeah, if I was making, if I'm making 30 million a year, yeah, I understand that. But I look at like, we talk about sports. I talk about sports all day. It's interesting with Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady still, like, I'm pretty sure he's furious that his wife makes more money than him, because he is going out of his way to. Not only will he not just retire and do other businesses, but he's like, I'm going to sign a 10-year deal to talk on TV that's worth $375 million. Where it's like, yeah, you can do that. You've also played 22 years of professional football. You probably need a break. He's like, no, and his wife's worth $400 million. So I mean, I think that there's a masculine aspect of like, yeah, it can be emasculating when someone makes more money than you, but it's also the understanding that you're doing this together and it's a partnership. Like, for instance, like, my wife does social media. I see all of that way too much. She has tons of accounts. She works her ass off every single day. She's working right now. That being said, with that, we need to work with each other. Like, if I had to say to her, hey, like, you can't be on my health insurance because I work for my company, that would create a strain on her, and that's going to cost her a fortune. My schedule now allows us to do a lot more things together where I can, sometimes I literally just have to drive her like I'm a freaking chauffeur because she's on her phone working.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, it's a nice car. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I would ride in it all day.
I don't know why she makes me wear the hat every time, but you know what? But no, like, we do that, and it's like, you have to look at it as like, I'm enabling her to make more money for us. Like, I want to be there to work together. So, like, when you put that all together, yeah, we all can strive for all of, besides the friendly one, in the feminine, like the fit, the education, the earnings, like we can all strive to do those things together. And if you're categorizing it and you don't look at it as a gray area for like some of those things are important, yeah, I want you to be fit because I want you to be healthy. Like, that's how I equate that. I don't want you to let yourself go in the sense that I don't care if you gain weight. Look at me. It's who am I to speak? But I want you to be healthy. I want you to be with me as long as possible and not have to, not have to put a strain on yourself. But that's my thought on
that. I like that. Darwin, what do you say? We pretty much already know what you're gonna say.
Yes, I'm the shallow one. I think fit, feminine, friendly trumps education, but not earnings. And I think a good BJ trumps fit, feminine, friendly all day. This is the truth. If you give a good BJ, ain't nobody gonna care how big you are and how friendly you are, how friendly you are. You're not thinking about that. It's just, so I mean, that's just it. These not even right there. So yeah,
Skill's a skill.
exactly. Like you have to replace it with something though. So and my wife has gotten pretty good in the two things that I care about pretty much. She's getting, when we started the relationship, she was getting promoted and, I supported her and stuff like that. And, she was making more money than me. I left home and she was making significantly more money than me, but, it was a team effort, and she knew that. I knew that. It was part of the plan. She never looked at me like I wasn't pulling my own weight. I still was bringing income in, but it wasn't what she was bringing in. And I think the education part. It's a lot of successful people without the type of education people are talking about, like that higher learning, that going to that institute. But it's a lot of self-educated people out here that takes knowledge very seriously. My wife is one of them. She reads all the time. She knows a lot of stuff. So it wouldn't matter to me if she did never go back to school. She's very knowledgeable and she takes pride in knowing things. She's very self-motivated. And like Josh said, just as long as you're striving to do something and be somebody and do great things, that's all I really care about. The fit part, I'm trying to get in shape now just so she don't think she ain't got to get in shape, because she already know it's a weight limit on her. If she gets to like 400 pounds, I'm not about to be with her. That's just because, it's a lifestyle to be that big when you're that small. It's a change of you got to start doing some crazy things to just blow up like that, unless it's health reasons. And that's why I say, like, if you start just because hey, she be eating ices at 12 o'clock at night, 6 of them laying out of the bed. When I wake up, she done had like 6 slushies, and so being big is not the problem. It's the way you go about being big is the problem for me. So
is how you got there.
Exactly.
So she was eating celery in the bed with you and like just ODing on celery every night. You'd be like, that's cool. She got 400 pounds eating them avocado and celeries every night.
She can't be the big
business in the streets. Don't nobody be saying nothing to you. You having all them Twinkies and ho-hos in the middle of the night, and all that paper be crinkling.
See, Alicia and Josh, I'm so glad you guys came because I was not going to be the third wheel. Let me tell you. Oh my gosh, guys, let them have started this up when I was
all I'm
saying.
All I'm saying is she can't be big and be at the buffet with 5 plates walking back to the table. She got to be the big chick with a salad eating at the
with
table.
Goals. She has to have goals.
5 plates, So that's all I'm saying. But no.
I think that goes back to conditional and unconditional love, right? People are like, oh, I have unconditional love for my children. Yes, I do. That I don't know how you can have conditional love for your children, but in relationships, it always has to be conditional love. So if Cannon can't give a good blowjob, bro, bye. Because that condition has to be met, obviously. If you go into a relationship looking, acting, and having certain mannerisms and behaviors, that's what your partner is used to. Those are the conditions they desire about you, they love about you, they want to continue about you. And maybe there's like 50%, they're like, oh, you got that fab, fit, fun, whatever personality and body. I'm going to try to mold you into something I want more of, right? But it's so funny because my partner Chris is like, I was like, I have unconditional love for you. He's like, there's no way. He's like, what if I got addicted to drugs? I'm like, oh, no, bro, I can't do that. I'm sorry. Some conditions set in. So the reality is it's definitely conditional love because there's only so much a person can put up with or they're willing to bend in. And so if you're heavy and you're allowing yourself to be in a state of not taking care of yourself, there's being heavy and taking care of yourself and doing the right things. And then there's heavy and not taking care of yourself. And that's a condition your partner is not willing to live by because like Darwin said, is that I have to, in this relationship, live with those repercussions, right? Your health issues, the medical problems, you may not be here anymore because you have made choices to put yourself in a situation that's going to hinder, how I feel about you, my concern for you. And then of course, what that does to the children and the family dynamic as a whole, you know, and sharing my honesty in my marriage. My ex-husband, who's no longer with us on this planet, he had a drug addiction, and that wasn't a condition I was willing to live with and walk away from. And then that was the ultimate demise of his life, you know. So conditions, you know, I would love for somebody on this call to say, hey, I have unconditional love for my partner, because I'd be like, you're lying, bruh, because like Darwin said, if you can't give a good blowjob, bye. You know, conditions.
Alicia is not a ride or die. Okay, we have that is not
gambling.
A ride or die.
Oh, gambling, no.
Yeah.
Everybody should have standards, you know. And that's just their standards, you know. I don't knock anybody for if a man wants a pretty woman, a fit woman, and she doesn't have to be educated and have any money, then if he go find that and they turn out to have a happy marriage or whatever, hey, it's somebody for everybody, you know. But you know, it's just about what that man wants, about what that woman wants, you know. It's somebody for everybody, you know. We all have our different standards, and some may sound crazier to others than, you know, because I would date a crackhead. I mean, if she got money, I date a rich crackhead.
Thinking about that blowjob. That's what it is. That's what
you know, they probably
right.
be off the chain too. The crackhead, you know. So, and she got a rich crackhead.
You jaws got crack strength.
I'm not dealing with this tonight. Okay, how many drinks
on the
had so far? Never fails. You have your second drink in, because that's when you start talking real crazy. But okay, so we've kind of talked about how, you know, some of the different dynamics in relationships and what you guys prioritize. But when it comes to conflict, right? Because that's another source of contention. A lot of people are like, you know, who has the final say in the household? Who makes the final decisions? How do you, you know, decide what direction the family goes in? Who makes that decision? It needs to be the man, right? How, if you don't have an idea of saying, you know, well, the man is the leader, he's the head, it's his vision for the family, and you're saying we're more of a partnership, how do you solve conflict? Like, how do you come to decisions in the family? Who wants to answer?
I can say this right now that it's not gonna sound great coming out of my mouth, and I already hear it. I think fighting is extremely important. Mm-hmm. I think that arguments are extremely important. I think that the more you argue, not the more you argue. There's a level. Mm-hmm. But I think it's extremely important. Like, I think that if people, you know, those relationships where people say they don't argue at all, mm-hmm. they scare the living shit out of me, because that means that either one person doesn't care enough to say something, or they're gonna bottle it inside until it's completely about to blow over and they just go off on the other person. There's a level of fighting that to me is like, it's a direction. Like, okay, you know, I want this, she wants this. Why are we butting heads? And then how do we come to the best conclusion? And how do we keep those fight? Like, you know, how do you fight an appropriate amount where you can have those conversations? Yeah, sometimes they become fights, but like, how do you have those conversations where they actually steer the right direction? You know, I listen, I'm not gonna make every decision for Haley. I don't want to make every decision. I don't want to be in charge of her life like that. It's still her life. It's not just our life, but it's still her life. And you know what? Like, that's rough. Like, you know, when I first moved to Atlanta, I wasn't really with her at the time. I was in Jacksonville, and I had told her point blank. I said, "Listen, you can either come with me, or you don't have to. But I'm going there." Now, obviously, we're now married because we you know, I won the fight and we're here. But you know, like, those things, like, it differs and changes. Like, I personally think that the fights have helped us get from point A to point B, because it allowed us to have the ability to know what we wanted and get it out there as truthfully and honestly as possible and as fast as possible. I don't want to have someone safeguard their words. I don't want to, I mean, you don't have to fight, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't know, that obviously, like, fighting is not the right phrase on that, but like, you know, those arguments, conflict. conflicts of
Yeah,
contention,
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know, those things are important because of the people that don't have that, I feel like they don't care or that they're gonna blow up.
Right, because they're probably is something that they're probably not saying or something they're probably just avoiding and not dealing with if they're not having those conflicts. I agree. Raven, how do you feel about that?
Like you said, I think absolutely. It just depends on the situation. Okay, so when we left you guys' house that night,
Mhm.
it was like opening a can of worms. Because his father is a lot older, and my grandfather has a church, and we grew up in the same household. So both of us just came from extremely strict gender role families, and it just was what it was. It's just what relationships were. But then after we left that night, it was just went to counseling and everything. Oh my gosh, it was a whole.
You
thing.
went to counseling after you left our house?
No, we go to counseling anyway. That's not.
Oh,
the
okay. I
point.
was going to say, I know we didn't do it.
Exactly. Don't be
No,
saying it like that.
Don't be trying to blame us.
But
Okay?
no. I was giving kudos because it just, like I put in the comments, opened the door to a lot more healthier discourse, because a lot of times we just retreat back to, well, that's just how it's supposed to be. That's just how we are. You know, that's just how men and women are supposed to be. But then we started to challenge those kind of things. So, you know, marriage is fun. So now we're on a whole different path now, and I'm excited.
I love it. You look excited. You look real excited when you was just
Yeah, he
saying
just came in here with his shirt off, y'all. I don't even know what nobody.
Darwin, what do you want to add?
What was the question?
Conflict. How do you resolve them in relationships if you don't have this man has the final say, he's the leader, so he gets to dictate everything? If you don't agree with that, how do you resolve conflicts in relationship?
The woman is always right.
I know that's right. Hey.
Happy wife, happy life. Hey, that's the number one rule. I was taught that you know, and it was just, you know, my uncle told me that, and at the time it was just something I thought was like, you know, that's just what the men say, happy wife, happy life. But you know, I can't tell all my secrets on why that is true or how we get to that point, but that's just happy wife, happy life, and it's all about being a leader. You know, it's a lot of things that I think as men we try to control when we don't need to. You know, I think it's a lot of stuff. You know, and I just, you know, I married a pretty capable wife, and she's logical, and you know, and I'm a logical person, so I know right from wrong. She knows right from wrong. We pretty much we get into a conflict. We both know what's the right thing to do, so it's always easy to come to that conclusion. Sometimes I go against it, but at the end of the day, you know, I always go with logic. You know, what's the best move for the family? What's the best move for us? And I've just learned to put my pride to the side. You know, it's a lot of things that's worth fighting for, and there's a lot of things that's worth not fighting for. And you know, we haven't came across a lot of things yet that is worth fighting for in that aspect, to like have a big conflict or argument or can't be settled or something like that. You know, we go to counseling. We've counseling helped out a lot with our communication and how I talk to her and how I receive things from her. And I just think, you know, like Josh said, arguments are necessary. Conflict is going to happen. Sometimes when you argue, your feelings are involved, and you might say some things that you didn't want to say but needed to say, and that comes out. And now at least your partner knows what you think, and now she or he knows how to move off that, you know, because I think a lot of times a lot of people just don't say a lot of things because they don't want to hurt each other's feelings, but that's the only way you can get through these things, you know. If you keep holding things in, you will never discover a lot of things about your partner. They won't discover a lot of things about you. It's some things that you might think will upset them, and it probably won't upset them at all, and you just been holding it in and living your life a certain way, guarding things, and it's upsetting you more than it will upset her, and now you stressing yourself out because you just don't want to tell something. So you know, I like conflicts. it's good
We
sex
know,
too.
we know.
What
you say?
I mean, I'm just saying, I get, I don't know what's wrong with me, but sometimes I just like to spice it up and get a little feisty or something, like when Josh just said the B word, I was like, yes, let's some action. Let's do this, so I'm all about that, so, my wife would tell you, like, I start stuff all the time just to,
You're an instigator.
Yeah, I like to,
he comes slamming the house, wondering why his hot water froze in the freezer.
Exactly.
I put a mug of hot water in here. We got to make up.
I'm very much I come from I'm from Chicago. I was very deep into the toxic masculinity, into the ratchet life, and sometimes it still comes out of me. Sometimes I try to control it, but sometimes it just comes out. So, she knows this, and we deal with it. We went to counseling for it,
We went to counseling for your toxic masculinity.
Yeah, conflict, well, like Josh said, you need that conflict sometimes, It lets off them what they call them, endorphins and stuff like that. When you
endorphins?
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta snap out, and you gotta no for real. You gotta snap out sometimes. You taught me that, like, you used to always say you don't have room to snap back or get mad at me, because I always used to shut it down. And that's very true. Like, I used to always get a chance to say what I want to say and let off my anger and stuff like that. And I never used to let her get off her anger. But you just gotta let a person lash out on you sometimes, because if they don't, it can lead to some very unhappy situations, and it can just prolong the feud, so it's good to have them conflicts and those arguments sometimes, as long as you know how to fight fair, which we learned how to fight fair and stuff like that. And don't use those the word Josh used. You're not supposed to say that, Josh. You can't. Don't say that, Josh.
You should hear what my actual language sounds like. Shannon's heard it a few times. I've had to pull myself back out of training rooms. It gets bad. It gets bad. I learned how to speak for my mother, and it's not something. It's not something that we should.
Hey, I from my mama too. So
exactly.
I walk around. I am perpetually rated R, and it's nothing I can do about it. Like, it flies out of me at all times. And I until moving to the South, I didn't realize that was a problem. But
which was just like, what? What's the problem?
I get it.
Alicia, how do you think you resolve conflicts?
Well, I can agree with both Josh and Darwin. I love to argue. I'm a Taurus. I'm stubborn and I'm competitive, and I want to win all the time. And sometimes when I'm just feeling a certain way about something, I'm like, how can I start an argument? So I can just tie into how I feel about something else, so I can win. So you just know how I'm feeling. So Darwin was talking about, sometimes you just have to you just have to let people know how you feel. You're talking about this, and then your real feelings come out. And I'm like, oh, this mother over here. But I'm like, how can I start this conversation? So sometimes Chris will be like, can you sweep the floor? Because we have this giant dog living in our house. I'm like, yeah, I'll sweep the floor. Decline. He'll come on, why do you sweep the floor? And I was like, I'm not sweeping the floor. And I'm going off. And it's not even about sweeping the floor. It's just, I want to release myself. I just want to just get it out. And, you're my partner, and we have a really good, he's very passive. I'm very strong-minded, but he has his strong opinions. And so I think in relationships, you have to know what your partner wants to win and what you want to win. So we have this giant dog. He doesn't have his own biological children. He only has mine. And so this dog is like his child. And so it's like taking this dog to the vet all the time. It's like medical bill after medical bill. And we split costs. We're very even in splitting costs. And today he's like, I scheduled to take this dog to the vet. I was like, again? You're taking it to the vet again? I was like, you're paying for it this time. I'm not paying for this. And we're going back and forth. And I was like, while you're out there, give me a burger from Five Guys. He's like, if I'm paying for this burger, will you split this vet bill with me? And I was like, okay, I'm going to free burger. So I was going to split the vet bill anyways, So it's like, I know that certain things are important to him. I have to let him win sometimes. He has to let me win. But there are non-negotiables for me. For example, I have to come first. I have to come first. If the neighbors want you to move a couch out of their house, but I need you to, I don't know, give me a roll of toilet paper before you do it. I need to come first in the relationship, in life. I need to be that person where I'm your partner. You chose to be with me. There will be conflict if I don't come before other people. I'm not talking about the children, but I'm just, you know.
Do you also put your partner first too?
I do. I do. So I'll give you an example. We were coming to look at the house that we live in now a couple of years ago, and Cannon knows this. I'm an on-time person. I am on time. We work on the same team. That's me. I'm very OCD. And I'm like, we're going to be late to our appointment. He's like, Brian needs me to help him move this chest out of the house. And I'm like, getting all steamed up. And then it was past the time for us to get to the showing this house. And I was so upset. And he knew how time was important to me. And I just ripped into him about how, you know, he had to put me first over this person having this thing moved out of their house and things like that. And so I was like, I always put you first. I always put you in the prime light. But there are certain things that I need. You've got to put me first in certain situations. And so, yeah, so I always put him first, except for making dinner. I always give the kids dinner first. You know, that way I can sit down and eat together. People don't realize that. Always give the man food first before you give the children. I was like, I give it to the kids first. So then when I make his plate, I make my plate, then we're sitting and eating together. But I know everybody else is different. But yeah, so I do. I don't talk negative about my partner. He means the world to me, and I expect the same. But healthy conflict is great. We don't yell at each other. I think we've yelled maybe a couple of times at each other, but conflict, it exists and it feels good. And just like Darwin said, it opens up the gate for other activities to happen. You know, it's a good thing. We like activities, just like in Step Brothers. Activities is fun, you know.
Y'all toxic. Y'all is toxic.
So Josh, I wanted to ask you a question, Josh. Like, is there times where it was conflict, but you was just like, you know what, I'm not going to bother her, because it was just like unleashing the monster. Like, because I know it's times with my wife and me, my mother, everybody be in the house like walking around like, what's wrong with her? Everything good? I'd be like, hey, don't say nothing to her. Leave her alone. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to unleash Carrie. You know what I'm saying? Stuff's going to start burning around here. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I also think it's a time where you could just dead all of it. Like, hey, like you said, like, hey, it's over with. Just, I'm not going to say nothing. You won. I don't even want to discuss it. Just leave her alone, you know? That's how I deal with some of those type of conflicts. Just, I don't even say nothing. And then, you know, it just passes away, you know. So I think it's sometimes conflict is needed, but sometimes it's not needed as well, too. You know, you got to know how to avoid it, too.
So, Josh, how often do you let your wife just get away? You know, you just be like, I ain't even finna bother her.
A lot. So, no. Like, the thing is, like, you know, we both wear our emotions on our sleeves. So I think that it helps. It helps in that way for us, because, like, we're not, you know, there's no like sitting around late at night. Like, there's no getting mad at each other later on. Like, it is what it is. If I get into an argument with her where I'm like really, really pissed, I just leave. I tell her I'm out for a little bit, because, like, I don't want to break anything in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
I like my stuff too much. But
I have never understood that people who break their own stuff. I'll be like, I will calm down quickly. About to break my own stuff. I'll just be real.
I'm torturing myself.
Yeah.
But no, but no, like, for me, like, that's the most important thing, is that, like, you know, if you're gonna get into that fight, like, yeah, get into it early. Get into it, like, get into the argument. I keep using the word fight. Get into that conflict early. Mm-hmm. We're not like having physical fist fights, because then I'm gonna lose, because there's no winning there. There's no winning there. It's just me getting hit, and that's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work.
But no, it's like it's tough sometimes, because, like, yeah, you have to bite your lip. I have to bite my lip sometimes, because I have an ability with words that I don't want to use. Like, there's sometimes I want to hold back, because my intention is not to hurt someone's feelings.
Basically, you have a smart mouth, Josh. You have a very smart mouth.
It can be real bad. You've heard it a few times, but it can get real bad, and that's where I got to be, like, careful. And but no, when other people come over, you know, we can kind of pull off that like mom's on the phone type of thing where like you get a phone call, mom's screaming at you, and then all of a sudden she gets on the phone and it sounds like there's nothing ever has been wrong in the world. Like we can pull that off in any event that we have to.
Yeah.
So that's a good skill, I think.
I agree. We were talking about that the other day. Like, you know, we can be into like World War III in the house, and then like around people we're like, we're like all calm, like giving each other like the evil eye behind everybody's back, but like, but nobody would ever know. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
you would think I don't like to have conflict because she's won like 99% of the arguments that we ever had. You know, she's so good at it. You know, she's like a finesse. She likes a finesse arguer. And
You
I'm
don't
like
even sound like you want to win. It sounds like
I'm
you
a
just wanna
power
make up.
arguer. Like she finessed me, but you know, I go low. I say stuff like, you know, that's why your daddy ain't got no lips. You know, she be winning, and I just be like, you know what? Here you go, gut shot. You know,
let me put it this way. I've made some jokes over the years that I get reminded very much a lot that she never forgets them. And it comes up every once in a while. Like the one time she had like too much like hair on her lip, and I called her a young Mexican teenager. I called her Juan, and now she'll like walk around and she'll be like, "Is Juan still here?" And I'm like, I really wish I didn't say that, but I did, and I have to live with this because it's been 7 years. So I've been with her for 9, but that was 7 years ago because I remember the day, I remember where I was, I remember what happened, and I was like, damn, I really screwed up. She has a word for it. She's a word association, and that's not good. You don't need to have a word association.
Yeah, you got a good with that one though.
right.
That's so funny. It's like when my partner does something that really upsets me, he'll be like, I'm so sorry. And it's like, no, your apology is not accepted. And that's okay. We can carry on with this relationship, but I will never accept that apology. I will remember this forever. And my partner is really good at saying, can we start over? Can we start over? And I'm like, yeah, we can start over. But in my head, I was like, shh, you starting over, bro. It's still right here.
First chance I get, I'm bringing that back up. First chance I get. I love it. No, this is some great stuff, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and get ready to close out. I have one more short video to play. It is another. It's like an interesting subversion that they did on some ads. These are real, actual ads, vintage ads that they took and remixed the genders. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video, and then I'll let us comment to that and then close out, and we can be done. But just give me a second. Oh, I have to. Maybe I want to share my screen.
So do we agree that like roasting each other is like healthy discourse? Like that's good for relationships?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
100%. I've named my partner's stomach Charlie, and I refer to it often.
I had my father, instead of a wedding, like for a wedding for my wedding, instead of a toast, I actually asked him to roast me. He roasted me for 10 minutes, and it's on YouTube.
That's a love language.
It's time for a writing tool that can
roasting
actually
is a love
understand.
language.
Someone's got to pay for YouTube Premium.
All I need is you, baby, baby. Proclaim to be known. All I need is you, baby, baby. Over love. Over love. All I need is you, baby, baby. Over love. Over All I need is you, baby, baby.
Some of those before and after were uncomfortable, but the before ones were just as uncomfortable.
My partner would be happy with a Hoover for Christmas. I'm not gonna lie, he's a cleaning fool, so he'd love that.
So what did you guys think of some of those ads?
They were kind of sadistic, no? Was it just me? Okay, yeah. It was giving sadism. Sorry, guys.
No, don't be sorry. Those were real, actual ads, by the way.
It's interesting to see some of the brands that are still around. And it's like, I don't know what Legs is, L-E-G-G, L-E, like eggs with a G, with an L.
Like
Those are
pantyhose.
Pantyhose.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still around?
I think so.
You can find them at Walmart.
Right, but nobody wears
So-
pantyhose anymore.
Hello. Yeah, I don't wear pantyhose. Only if I don't shave my legs. You know, you got to take chances in life.
Right, I'll wear a skirt or something. My mother-in-law be like, "Don't you need some pantyhose with that, girl? Stop."
You also need a slip too.
Right.
Right. Easy access. They don't know nothing about that.
Yep. I just wanted to illustrate and show how, deeply ingrained a lot of the sexist attitudes can be. And then that just went to show how ridiculous it would be if the genders were reversed, but it was just as ridiculous, on the other side. And I'm just going to go ahead and let everyone give their final closing thoughts on these gender roles and relationships, and basically, what you think is most important and what makes a relationship work. So I'll start at Alicia, and we'll just go around and everyone can give their final thoughts.
I wasn't ready for that.
Okay, well then we can come back to you.
Well, no, I'm gonna make it short and sweet because
Okay.
I can talk forever. Cannon calls me for 5 minutes. We're on the phone for an hour and a half, and there goes my work day. So hopefully nobody from work is on this call. But I think and you've all said components of this earlier is that gender roles really just don't exist in a lot of different instances. Where 2022 and the norm is no longer the norm anymore. And I know Darwin said that, and Josh said that, and Raven was alluding to some of those points as well, is that, your relationship is your own. You make it your own. You find a partner that fits within, what you need and what they need from you. And I think it was Will Smith that said this. He's like, when he was talking to his wife pre-Chris Rock slap, because I love Chris Rock. So, but he said, you go into a relationship, you have to make your own happy. You have to be your own happy. And you can't look for that within your partner. You have your life, you build your happy, and your partner only complements that. So if you're looking for a man to be the hierarchy, if you're looking for the woman to be the hierarchy, you identify that early in the relationship and you do things that work well for you to be successful. And early on, you should discover that if it's not working, don't continue the relationship and try to bend somebody into what they are not, because you're just going to destroy and tear each other down. So figure that out sooner. And move on. And if you can work within that and have happy, lasting relationships, congratulations, and move forward. So I wish that the best for everybody on this call, as well as don't change people, find what fits you, make your own happy, and move on in life.
Thank you. I like that. Josh?
I find it amazing because we look back into the past a lot and we see, very rarely do we see things and go, wow, that was they did a really good job back then. That was we should really, why aren't we doing this today? But I think it's just as important to look forward into the future and to kind of see, like, these walls are breaking down. These, what we expect of people is changing. How we view the roles in society are changing. And I think that for the most part, it's going to be really interesting to see the next, 20, 30 years as we kind of progress and see what actually changes and what still kind of remains the same. And these conversations, the more that people have them, the more that people kind of see the hypocrisy in them. and kind of see how stupid in some ways they can kind of like, yeah, those ads were dumb, but those ads were real. These conversations we're having, are stuff that people talk about on a daily basis. Like I've had these conversations with you, Cannon, without a prompt. We've just talked about it in general. So I think that it's really interesting to see like what that future holds and how long it's going to take to kind of really break that down and just become, just men and women are men and women. Yes, they are different, but we can open up a can of jars and can of whoop ass just the same.
I love it. Thank you, Josh. Raven.
You guys hit the nail on the head. I think if we stick too close to gender roles, it's gonna get really, really stupid really fast. To Josh's point about BYU and Darwin's point about religion and transitioning, I think we should take baby steps. I think we should work through it, strive toward equality. Let's drop some of these gender roles because, I mean, getting married that quick in BYU is just insane. But, I don't know. I know religion is tight for people. It's close for people. But so, let's just take some time and look within ourselves and our religion and whatnot. And do what works best for your relationship. And that's how I will end it because I know everybody is different. But yeah, that's it.
I like it. Thank you, Raven. Darwin.
Just want to tell everybody to find a partner you can grow with. Step out of that box that society has put you in and get your own box. Get you a partner, and y'all can get y'all own box together. Make y'all own rules, set y'all own standards, live by the your own lives the way you want to live it. Don't worry about what's going on the outside and what everybody else is doing. Only thing that should matter is you two's happiness and your kids' happiness and the ones that care about you and the lives that you affect. So just grow together, evolve together, be happy together.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna take away something key that Alicia said. Put each other first. I think that you can, cut down on a lot of issues if you just put each other first and you're not so selfish and just totally enthralled in what you want and what you think is right and what you need. And if you're putting your partner first in the relationship, and if you are both putting the entire family first, then I just think you can't go wrong, because then you can kind of be more agile and do what needs to be done for the family, as opposed to being like selfishly stuck in your own box and own ideas for what you think that needs to look like. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. And thanks everyone for stopping by on our channel. Thank you to our special guests, Alicia and Josh, for stopping through. Hopefully you guys will come by maybe another day, another time, sometime. Yes. And our usual panelists, Raven and Darwin. And good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Thanks for joining us, Alicia and Josh. It was a pleasure.